Hi, everybody. It's Liz Scott, and welcome to Open Mic Marketing. I am super excited to be with you guys today. This is one of my favorite things, and I look forward to it every month, as I hope you do as well. So, I started Open Mic Marketing well, I guess this is our third broadcast. And we're growing and growing, so it's very exciting for me. Um, and we've started to get a lot of people emailing questions into me as opposed to wanting to open the mics. I will open the mic, but I also will address those of you who emailed me questions because you're too shy to come on and speak out loud on this call. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and my background, just a quick overview. So I am a business growth strategist, and I spent 25 years as a marketing vice president in the high tech and telecommunications space, and worked in that area for about 25 years, and then decided I wanted to venture out on my own. So I am an International Coaching Federation certified business coach. And now I focus on helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses. So some people are just starting out. Other people have been in business for a while, but have noticed that their business is plateauing. And so they want to get to the next level because we know as entrepreneurs, it's a continuous evolution of growing and growing all the time. So I started Open Mic Marketing because number one, it's a way to give back to the community, but also because there's just so many people out there who struggle in their businesses with knowing what kinds of marketing they should be doing, or they have just a quick in and out question that, by answering it may help them, but also helps the rest of the folks on the call as well. So super excited about that. I am listening to your feedback as we move through, getting more and more well known. So one of the things was a couple of things came up. The first one was that as entrepreneurs, we're super busy and we're trying to get a lot of things done. So I had originally scheduled open mic for an hour, but was requested that I turn that into a 30-minute session so that we can get our questions answered quickly and we don't have to spend so much time on the call. So I am listening to what you're saying. And so from now on, we will be doing the calls from 12 until 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. The second request that came in, and I thought it was kind of a cool idea, was somebody emailed me from our listeners and said, hey, you know what? I love the format of having the questions answered, but what I'd really like to know is, can you tell us kind of what the hot trends are in marketing for small business owners? So I'm going to do that. So one of the hot trends for 2017, and this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody, is video. So you'll see lots of people doing Facebook Live or lots of people that are recording small videos about themselves and their businesses and then posting them up on either their website or various types of social media. So I just wanted to give you guys a couple of tips and tricks since this is such a hot trend. Um, and it's not necessarily so much related to Facebook Live as it is to creating a video, let's say on your tablet or your iPad, and then posting it up onto your website or your social media platform. So one of the things I want to talk about is if you're going to do a video, what you want to do is keep it below 60 seconds. So the average attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter for people. So you want to keep it to about 60 seconds. The second thing that you want to do is capture people's interest right away. So start talking or asking a question that's going to really engage your audience right within the first 5 to 7 seconds, because that's where you're either going to get or lose people. Here's the next thing. over 50% of people are now reading, watching, and doing activities on their mobile devices. So I see this all the time where people will create a video, but then when you look at it on your phone, it's completely not proportioned to the device that you're looking at it on. So please, if you're going to do a video, make sure, sorry, make sure that it's formatted so that it's readable from any mobile device. And also, because we are often in an environment where we're watching your video on a phone or a tablet, we can't necessarily always have the volume up. So what you want to do is you want to put headings or words going across your video that's sort of outlining exactly what it is that you're talking about. So why do we want to do that? Well, one, if they can't hear the sound because they're watching it on their phone, they really have no idea what you're talking about. So it's highly likely that they're going to disengage. The second thing is that if they read what's going on within your video, they're much more likely to actually go back and revisit it at a later date because you've now intrigued them. So those are kind of the hot trends going on right now. And I love that idea. So I'm going to try to do the first kind of 5 minutes of the call on what the hot trend is going on within the marketing world. So I have a bunch of email questions that have been sent to me. Then I'll open up the live audience, see if you guys have any questions. We do have a ton of questions, so that's super exciting for me. Okay, so one of the first questions is, what is the one major area I should focus on if I have limited marketing funds? So that's a great question. And by the way, that's a question that I hear all the time from people starting their business. So the first thing I want to let you guys know is, please don't start a business with no money. If you have no money to invest in anything, chances are your business is not going to succeed. You have to have a little bit of money to be able to put into your business, right? You need startup funds. And so I often hear the question, well, what kind of marketing budget should I be focusing on if I'm in the early days? And so the general rule of thumb is you should be spending between 5 and 10% of your gross revenue on marketing. Now, you guys are going to say to me, okay, well, I don't even have gross revenue because maybe I'm just starting out my business. In which case, I would say to you, you want to have probably around $1,000 to $2,000 to devote to your marketing. Then as you get bigger and you expand more and more and more, the general rule of thumb is somewhere between 10 to 15% of your budget goes into marketing. But to get back to her question, if you have very limited marketing funds, what you really want to do is get known as quickly as you can. And what does that mean? That means getting out into areas where your target market hang out. So whether that be networking, whether that's virtual networking, so, getting together online in groups, volunteering for things where your target audience are gathered. But really what you want to do, or social media, because social media is a great way to get awareness out there about who you are and what you do. So getting known is absolutely crucial to building up that know, like, and trust factor. People are not going to buy from you unless they know you, unless you're doing something like a $25 online purchase or something. So, if you have limited funds, I would say you really want to get out into the community where your target audience is, and then just network, network, network. Volunteering or offering to help somebody who's in your target audience is also a great way for people to get to know you. And then if you have really limited marketing funds, you can always focus on a service exchange, which is find somebody who has something that you want, for example, accounting, web design, et cetera, and trade off the services that you offer with the understanding that you will get a testimonial at some point or potentially a referral. So limited marketing funds, you got to go guerrilla marketing tactics. You got to just hit the ground running and utilize every aspect in terms of who do I know who can help me? Who do I know who can spread the word? Getting involved with groups on a volunteer basis, getting people to know you so that you really stand out and people automatically will start to refer you. So great question. I hope that answers your question. Same person also asked, what single piece of advice would you give to somebody marketing their business? And that was great that you emailed me that because I had to give a little bit of thought to that. So what single piece of advice would I offer? The biggest piece of advice that I would offer is to be strategic in what it is that you're doing. I see a lot of people who try a lot of different things and get super frustrated because none of them work effectively in the way that they think they should be. So be strategic in what it is that you do. What does that mean? That means pick a couple of things and then really let them play out. Focus on those couple of things only for a 3 to 6 month period. You got to give stuff enough time that it works. Everybody thinks marketing is instantaneous. It's not, right? That's why there's 7 to 10 touches before you actually close a client. If it's a referral, that probably drops down to 2 to 5. But you need to be super strategic on what you're doing in your marketing and not try to focus on too many things. So then the next thing is you're going to say, okay, well, how do I know what to be strategic on? And, some of you who are my regular listeners have heard me talk about what's your zone of excellence. So your zone of excellence really is that area where you're very talented in and you have this sort of natural gift that comes super easily to you, but maybe not so easily to others. And so let's use writing as an example. If you're an amazing writer and you love to write, then you want to pick a marketing strategy that involves writing. If you're an amazing public speaker, you want to try to get as many speaking gigs as you can. If you're much better one-on-one, then you want to try to book as many one-on-one meetings as you possibly can. So figure out what you're really good at and then figure out, well, what kinds of marketing go hand in hand with that. And then those are the areas that you really want to focus on. And by the way, as I said, you've got to give things time to play out. I see so many people who try things once or twice, and then when it doesn't work, they give up. You've got to stick with it. You've got to give it enough time to build momentum, right? It's exactly like open mic marketing. It's building and building and building. We're now in month 3. We're getting a lot of word of mouth. You've probably seen me on social media, but it takes a long time. So you can't expect to get a major hit right out of the gate. And hopefully that helps you. Okay, so I'm going to open it up, and anybody who has a question that's on the call, go ahead and raise your hand, and I will unmute you, and you can go ahead and ask it. And while we're waiting for people to raise their hands and ask live, I'm going to go on to the next question that was emailed into me. Okay, so this is a great question. Okay, Marcos, I see your hand up, so I'll come to you in a second. Okay, so the next question is, how can I make better use of my social media without spending money on boosting posts? Okay, so great question. Thank you. So how can you make better use of your social media? I mean, one of the fastest ways to grow your social media, well, I'm going to answer that two ways. Um, Interacting in groups where your target audience hangs out is always an amazing opportunity. So getting in, getting to know people, it's exactly like networking in person, except that you're doing it through social media. So you want to go in, start to engage with people in there, you know, getting involved with the online community. The other thing that you can do to make better use of your social media is to talk about things in your social media posts that are really, really relevant to your target audience. So the general rule of thumb always is about 70-30. So you want to make sure that you are giving 70% really high, rich, interesting content in your social media posts. If you're on Instagram or your business is visual, so if you're an interior designer or a weight loss coach or a home stager, then you want to have a lot of before and after shots and really visually engage your audience. If you're more of a service-based industry, then you want to establish yourself as a thought leader. So those are some ways that you can really engage. The other thing that's a really hot trend now is asking questions. Always, always, always gets people engaged. Or quizzes. So there's a lot of online quizzes going on right now where, asking again, what's the number one biggest problem that you have in your industry? You'll get lots and lots and lots of engagement. So you don't have to boost your post. You don't have to pay to get broader reach. You're just going to get people engaged with you because you're talking about super interesting things. So hopefully that answers your question. And Marcos, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, so what's your question?
Oh, hello. Okay, so I have to unmute myself too.
You do have, oh, you know what? Thank you for saying that. I should have said that. Usually I say that at the beginning of the broadcast.
Yeah, so thank you for doing this, Liz. It's always nice to hear your experience and what you have to share with us. Always welcome. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, so basically, I always have an issue with social media. I mean, I've been on social since the beginning, since the very, very, very beginning, since a lot of people didn't even have smartphones, since these mediums were not available on a handheld. And I've always seen it as something personal. Now, I have a problem with mixing my personal and my business lives, and that's what's happening a little bit with social media. What do you find, or how responsive do you think people are on social media versus other traditional methods? Like, for example, if you looked on LinkedIn, you get a more professional audience listening to you. Um, but you see that there's a lot of engagement on Instagram now, which is just pictures, just visual. So what's your take on social media? Is it worth actually putting the effort into that, or is it more effective to actually think about maybe SEO in your website and getting people finding you? What do you think about that?
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm going to put you back on mute. That's a great question, and we've got lots of social media questions today, which is great. Okay, so where do I start with social media? First of all, you need to make sure that the social media platform that you're on is representative of who your target audience is. So if you're more business to business, you want to focus on LinkedIn. As I said earlier, if you're more visual, you want to focus on Instagram. And if you're more service-based, then you want to focus more on Facebook. So the amount of effort that you put into social media really is twofold. It is dependent on the stage of business that you're in. So in the early days, you want to spend a little bit of time online just to get your presence established, but I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it because people need to know, like, and trust you. So you need to get more physically out into the community where people look you in the eye and they start to get to know you. So I talked a lot last month about this and you know why that's important, and I won't go into that again today. But um, heavy social media is for people who are in well-established businesses who typically make more than 100K in gross revenue. And I won't go into all the reasons of in terms of why that is, but it has to do predominantly with, you know, building your know, like, and trust factor with your tribe and then expanding your tribe into the online world. Because don't forget, as soon as we go online, we put ourselves in global competition. So now we're dealing with everybody that's within our target market as well. Um, so how much time should be invested? Depends on what stage of business you're in. It's not necessarily going to get you clients. It might get you some brand recognition and get you established in terms of what you're doing. To address your other point about there's a bleed between business and personal, absolutely that's true. For everybody who's on the call, I would absolutely say that you need to get yourself a business page established if you haven't. So you should keep your business and your personal separate. And be careful what you put on social media, because if you start to put a lot of personal stuff out there, it does impact your business. So people often will follow you on your business page and your personal page. So you can maintain this very professional image on your business page, but then when you're, you know, going on a rant about Donald Trump on your personal page, you are having an impact. So my advice always is to, excuse me, try to keep your business and personal pages as separate as you can. And then I'm going to tie your third point into another question that was emailed into me, which was, how important is SEO to my business, and do I really need it? So SEO is search engine optimization, which is really keywords on your website that will pull people in from the web and draw them to your website. So it really becomes, Google goes through search engine to see what keywords you've got on your website, and then that will sort of trigger so that people will be drawn to you. And again, you know, everything really depends on what stage of business you're in. And I know it's a bit of a chicken and an egg situation, because a lot of people come to me and say, well, I can't really afford search engine optimization, because you really need to do search engine optimization for about 6 months for it to have any tangible impact on what it is that you're doing. But, you know, I want to drive more traffic, so I know I need it, but I can't really afford to pay anybody or to learn it myself. So again, you know, when you're more established, then yes, search engine optimization becomes more important, because you want to get more and more and more leads. But when you're in the early days, I would not even worry about SEO. I would worry more, as I said, about getting yourself established as a thought leader, getting your presence out there, getting some testimonials and some referrals so that people really understand and are very clear on who you are and what you do. So I know that was kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but it was a great question and it had multiple parts. So hopefully I answered your question. Okay, so okay. Um, okay, so thinking about Instagram compare. Okay. Uh, okay, so I think that answered his question, which is good. Oh, he's got a follow-up question. Okay, I'm thinking about Instagram. What are the pros and cons of creating a personal page for your business page compared to a corporate page? Okay, so I think I answered that. Keep those separate. They are impacting each other, and people are absolutely watching what you're doing in your business and watching what you're doing on a personal basis. And I can't tell you guys how important it is to make sure that you um, make sure that you don't post things on social media that, you know, are going to impact your business. Okay. So Leroy, for some reason, your question is not opening in the chat box. So I'm going to unmute you. If you can unmute yourself, that would be great. I don't know why your question's not showing up in the question panel. So go ahead, Leroy, and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can. What's up, bud? How are you?
I'm doing good. It was
Great.
great listening to your advice.
Good. Welcome to Open Mic. I think this is your first time, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. That's great.
Okay. Good. Sorry, I don't know why your question's not popping up. So go ahead and let me know what you want to ask.
No problem. So yeah, I think maybe I wasn't clear in my message. So what I was referring to is, in the case of you having a Facebook page, and which I do, and my understanding is when you have a corporate page, about 2% of your updates and information actually shows up in people's news feeds, compared to people having a personal page where your friends and what they do shows up in their news feed, in your news feeds a lot easier. And the reason why, minors obviously, that Facebook, has that kind of restriction or limitation as far as businesses post showing up in other people's news feeds is to really promote advertisements and boost and so forth through Facebook.
Right.
So that's what I was kind of trying to understand as far as Instagram. So I'm looking to create an Instagram because I have a product and a lot of images.
Mm-hmm.
Is should I create a personal page, not literally personal, but like a personal business page, so that I can attract more kind of audience, and the news feeds and images would show up more prominent in people who like it and hashtag it, compared to a corporate page where it could be throttled back to promote advertisement and so forth on Instagram.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute now. Okay, so I know Leroy, I know what his business is, and it's very visual. So yes, I would say absolutely for what you do, you would want to create more of that personal page, because everything you said is exactly true. You're going to get a lot more traction. And the other thing for what you do is you are your designs. So you are creating that personal connection by people visually looking at the way that they can use your products. So it's always a judgment call whether to really feed your personal versus your business. But I think we have to trust our instincts in terms of what we think is working. And again, for your business pages, um, make sure that you give it some time. So everything that Leroy just said is true. Your personal always has more traction and grows faster, but you can always invite your personal pages to like and engage with your business pages. So, so I hope that answers your question a little more clearly. And then I have one last question, which is how do I figure out how much to charge for my services? I'm new and I don't want to charge too much. I get this question all the time. And I'll give you the very brief answer. One, you need to research your competition and find out what they're doing. Two, you want to create bundles and not get yourself into a situation where you're charging by the hour. And if you want to know more about why you shouldn't do that, then send me a separate email and we can have a more in-depth conversation. And then thirdly, it's okay to charge a little bit less when you're first getting started. Because you're new and you want to attract your first few clients, and then gradually as you build up your business, and this is from a service-based person, by the way, it's not related to product. As you build your clientele and your reputation gets known a little bit better, then we are going to raise our prices. And again, if you want to know more about that, let me know. So great call today, guys. I'm super excited about how many people are engaging with Open Mic. And as always, I offer anybody who's on the live call the opportunity to do a complimentary business growth strategy session with me. And if you're interested in setting up a complimentary session with me so we can figure out how you can grow your business, you can send an email to me at lscott@affinitycoach.com and just put strategy session, and I would love to chat with you guys more about your businesses so that I can help you any way that I can. Spread the word about Open Mic, and if we get tons more questions, then I'll expand it back to an hour. And our next Open Mic marketing will be on March the 15th. So great call, everybody, today. Thanks, and get out there and make your businesses grow. Take care.